What's up guys, I'm Andy from 1A Auto. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove this headliner out of this 2015 Chevy Silverado. If you need parts for your vehicle, click the link in the description and head over to 1aauto.com. So we want to disconnect the battery because we are going to remove the connector for the airbag. There is an airbag in this seat. This vehicle has manual seats, so I'll disconnect the battery now. If you had electric seats, you're going to want to first position the seat forward, remove the anchors for the seat, and then disconnect the battery. I'm going to use a 10mm socket and a ratchet. Loosen up the negative terminal on the battery. And disconnect it. I'm going to just slide this cable out of the way. I don't want it to accidentally hit the negative terminal on the battery. We want to access the bolts in the rear of the seat. There's one right there we can access, but this one has a cover over it. So we'll take this off. Just grab this piece, slide this off like that. And then underneath here, we're going to have to slide this off. You might have to move the seat. I am going to move it back from the front. I'm just going to slide this out. Like that. This comes off. This slides forward a little bit. There's a little clip right there. All right, now I'm going to slide the seat forward. Now we want to remove these two bolts. I'm going to use a T50 and a ratchet. Loosen these up. Take those bolts out. Before we move the seat back, I want to disconnect the seat belt from the seat. So I have to remove this cover right here. So I'm just going to use a trim tool, get under here. This kind of like slides up. Be careful with the plastic. There we go. So there's some clips right here. One of them broke. So sometimes that happens, but it'll still stay secure once we're done. So we're going to take this screw out. I'm going to use a T30 and a ratchet. Take that out and just grab the seat belt, slide it down. Just going to back the seat up now. Like I said before, if you have electric seats, you'd want to move it back now and then disconnect the battery before we disconnect the airbag. All right, now I'm going to disconnect the airbag on this. I'm just going to use a straight blade screwdriver, pull the lock back, and then this connector has a little lever right here. Push down on that red tab and then slide the lever, and that'll disconnect right there. All right, before we pull the seat out, I am going to take a straight blade screwdriver. There's a little trim piece right here that has to come off. Otherwise, it's going to prevent you from sliding the seat out. It just slides forward like that. So there's a clip right here on this side, and then there's also one on the back side. So it's kind of hard to get that one on the back side right there. All right, so I have that all disconnected. Sometimes it's easy to come from the back side and lift the seat up, and then you're going to grab from underneath and slide it out. Now the seat is completely disconnected from the car. Now, getting the seat out of the vehicle can sometimes be a challenge. So have the doors open. A lot of times the seat's pretty heavy, so you might need a helper to help you get the seat out. Just grab the seat. Be careful near the door, you don't want to scratch anything. Just close that door a little bit and then pull the seat out. Now I can do the same with the other side. All right, I'm going to remove these two bolts. I'm going to use a 15mm socket, extension, and a ratchet. There's two on this side and two on the other side. There's two connectors under here. You could disconnect these before you took those bolts out if you want. I'll just use a straight blade screwdriver, back the lock off, and push down on the lock tab on the connector. Disconnect that one, and then this one as well. Use a screwdriver to release the lock tab. Push down, and pull the connector off. All right, now we can grab the center console, lift it up. Just be careful not to hit the door. Slide it out. With the seat in the up position, I'm gonna take an 18mm socket and a ratchet, and we wanna take this nut out behind here. This is for the seat belt. Take this one off, take this nut off, slide this bracket up. And we can grab from up here and grab the seat belt and slide it out of the way. Remove the seat. You actually don't have to remove this one. Just slide the belt buckles through the bottom. I want to remove these 4 nuts. There's 2 on this side and 2 on that side. If on this side, if the jack is in your way, there's supposed to be a jack right here. It's not here on this vehicle. You're going to want to pull that out. And then I'll just take the 18mm socket and a ratchet and take these nuts out. So when you take the last nut out of that bracket, the seat is going to fold forward a little bit. So don't worry about that. It shouldn't fall all the way. It's just lifting up from the back side of the bracket. Just be aware. And now we're going to lift it out. It's a good idea to grab a helper because this seat is very heavy. What we're going to do is fold that seat in, grab underneath, lift up, and then we can slide it out one of the doors. You got it. All right, and you can just place it down. So on the back side of the seat, this is these hooks. This is why you need to lift the seat up to get those hooks out of the anchors in the vehicle. This is where those hooks go in on both sides, one on this side, one on that side. I want to remove this bracket. I'm going to take this 10mm nut off and this one as well. Just use a 10mm socket and a ratchet. Pull that nut off. You can just grab this bracket, slide it up, pull it out of the way. I want to remove this nut over here. Same on the other side. I'm going to use an 18mm socket and a ratchet. And I can pull the seatbelt out of the way. All right, I want to take this trim off. I'm just going to use the trim tool. Get underneath here, lift up, pop it out. It actually pops out from the front and then slides back like that. So I'm going to remove this trim piece and get a trim tool, get underneath. You can grab it from this side too, just pop it sideways. I'm just going to take a pocket screwdriver, get in underneath this little panel right there, pull that little cover off. Then I'll take a 7mm socket and a ratchet. I'll take this bolt out right here. All right, once it's loose, you can just slide this panel forward. Take that bolt out, and I'll just grab the panel. Pull it straight out. Before you pull this panel off, you're gonna have to pull this one off. Just grab underneath here, just pull it straight out. There's 2 clips that hold it in. Just take a little pocket screwdriver, push the center in just a little bit. And you should be able to pull that retainer out. that. Now we can just grab behind this panel, push it forward, just like that. It's a little bit tricky to pull this out. On the back side, there's a retainer there, retainer there, retainer there. These two panels separate right here. So I'm just gonna slide this gray one off the black one. Just use a little pocket screwdriver underneath these tabs. Slide that out. Then I can leave this gray one here, remove the black. Now I can do the same with the other side. All right, we want to take this panel off. I'm just going to grab a trim tool, get underneath the back here. There's going to be a lock that's attached these two panels together. Once that's released, then we pull it straight up and then pull it out this way. There's the clips that hold it in. There's clips on the bottom that hold it in. We're going to remove this panel. I just need a straight blade screwdriver. Get in under here and right here, and there's two bolts. We're gonna take those two bolts out. We're gonna use a 10mm socket, extension, and a ratchet. Oh, one came out. Take this one out. With the bolts out of that handle right there, we can pull this forward. I am gonna use a trim tool, try to get behind here. There's a push pin that's holding this in. Try with two trim tools. So this is pretty difficult to remove. I'm gonna use a metal trim tool. Just get underneath there, try to pop this off. There we go. Pop that off. And just pull it straight forward. You can slide the seatbelt through the center there. Then I'll show you on the back side these retainers. So this is the one that was giving me trouble, right up top there. And then these retainers down here and down there. So you could separate this if you needed to, but we're just gonna leave it all together instead of this side. And now we're gonna do the same with the other side. We're going to be taking the A-pillar off. I need a pocket screwdriver. There's two little covers right here. I'm going to pop these off right here and over here. Oops. Take these two bolts out with a 10mm socket, an extension, and a ratchet. Now with those bolts out, I can just grab the A-pillar and just slide it out like that. There is a clip that's held in right there. Then I'm going to do the same with the other side. Now we want to remove the visor. Just grab the front, pull that out like that, slide it away. Just going to take a pocket screwdriver, get under this trim piece right here, unlatch it. Some clips that hold it on. Slide that off there, and then you can slide that out. And there's 3 screws in here. We're going to remove those 3 screws with a T15 on an extension and a ratchet. All right, now when I'm taking the last one out, I'm going to hold the visor so it doesn't fall. And slide that out. Now if your visor had a mirror here with a light on it, then you would have a connector with some wires on it. You'd have to disconnect the connector, but this one does not have that. And now we can do the same with the other side. I'm going to take this visor retainer off. Just take a pocket screwdriver, pull that little cover back a little bit, and then we're going to take the same T15, take this screw up. So at this point we can leave this up here. We just needed to pull the screw out. It's going to stay attached to the headliner. Right, to remove this center console, I'm going to just tip this glasses holder down a little bit. I'm just going to use a pocket screwdriver, get in under here. There's a couple of locks to release. Once you get two of those, you can grab it and just pull it down. See, there's the retainers that hold it in. Just disconnect these connectors right here. And I'll just use the pocket screwdriver for this one. Release that lock, slide it out. I'm going to remove these two screws, one here and one here. I'm going to use a T10 extension and a ratchet. I'm just going to grab here and here, just pull this down. Just like that. To release this lock right here, there's two little fingers right there. You need to push on those fingers, squeeze them together, release that, slide it out. To remove this handle, just slide this down. I'm going to use a curved pick, get in from the top, and you're going to release this cover, flip it down, do the same on this one. Now I can access the bolts. I'm going to use an 8mm socket, extension, and a ratchet. Right, then I can take those bolts out. Once those are out, I can just grab the handle and pull towards the inside of the car. Just like that. There's some retainers that hold it in. Just like that, and there it is. Then I can remove the other ones just like this one. We need to disconnect this connector right here. Pull this little piece of trim off. There's a connector that connects to the mirror. Just push on the connector lock and disconnect it right there. Just going to take a trim tool behind this wiring harness right here. There's a couple retainers right here. Be careful, there's an airbag right here. You don't want to do anything to that. This slides up and out, just like that. So this wiring harness right here that goes down from the headliner and it goes down underneath the instrument panel, connects up on top here. I wanted to disconnect it from down below and then just feed the wires through, but the size of the connector down below is ridiculous. It's way too big. It's not gonna fish right through this little gap right here. You're gonna have to pull the dash out a little bit, which that's too much work. So we're not gonna do that. Realistically, GM should have had a connector up here or even at the base of the A-pillar so that we could pull the headliner down and it wouldn't be a big deal. I don't know why they designed it that way. So at this point, I'm gonna pull the headliner down. Now you can go to each door, pull the weather stripping back. This one's already pulled down, and then the same on the other side. Now this harness is glued to the headliner. So what we're gonna do is just peel it off. When we go to put this harness back on, we can use some hot glue and glue it back down. Just use a straight blade screwdriver, release this connector. There we go. So we'll just pull on these wires. Hopefully you don't rip the headliner too much, just be careful. Just like that. Right over here, there's a push retainer holding up the back. So it's on there pretty good. I'm gonna have to use a trim tool and try to get above it. You'll be able to see it a little better once it's down. There we go. You can see that? That's how it's connected right there. All right, there's some foam right here. This is just for sound deadening. Just peel this back, get to the wiring harness. Get a straight blade screwdriver, get under there, and then disconnect the connector. Just like that. And there, the wiring harness is disconnected. Now that, like I said, that could have been all avoided if there was a connector right here. All right, I'm just gonna move this wiring harness out of the way. Stick it over there on the mirror. Just remember, that's not how it goes. And to remove the headliner, you just want to twist it. All right, so we're going to try pulling it out the passenger side. You really don't want to bend it, and you want to be careful with the edges and stuff. You don't want to scrape it up. You can bend it a little bit, but and there we go. There's the headliner. All right, now I'm going to slide the headliner back in. I'm going to go with the back first. Try to angle it down. Just try to slide this in position. The wires are going to have to move out of the way. So the procedure is going to be the same if you have carpet in the car. We have the carpet out of the vehicle. It's not going to make a huge difference. But you might want to take those trim pieces off. That'll help. Just twist it. I'm going to tip it down in the back. I'm going to get it past the steering wheel over here. Just bend it slightly. Just be careful. And there we go. Right, so that's pretty good. You could use some bungee cords if you want to hold it in a position where you can connect the connectors. I'm just going to put a bungee cable right here. You can do that or be creative, find something to support it. All right, now I can pull this wire over here. Now we want to install the wire harness back how it went. So get it lined up. Get it in position. All right, we'll connect this connector right here. And position the wiring harness where it was. Connect this connector. Position that right there. All right, so a good thing to do to re-secure this wiring harness would be to use a hot glue gun. That would be the best method. We're just going to use a little bit of epoxy and just different areas. Just right there and right there. Or on top of that, you could actually use some adhesive tape, some interior fabric tape. All right, now we can lift it up. I have a partner to help hold it up, and then try to get underneath the weather stripping. The weather strip should hold it in position. The back right here, just push that. There's some push retainers right there that'll stay up in the back. I got the back part of the headliner in with the two push retainers, and then we put all the weather stripping. That's holding the headliner up right now. Sometimes that's difficult, especially if you're just one person. So what you also could do is take one of the screws that goes for the sun visor, get this one started. Use a T15. All right, so you can get that one started, and then the back's all set, and then you can put the weather strip in. Okay, and then close those little covers. These wires came through here, otherwise you're gonna have to pull the headliner down again. I'm just gonna connect this on the mirror, like that. Put this little trim cover over the mirror. It just hides the wires. Now we're gonna re-secure this wiring harness on this A-pillar, right there. If you disconnected the wires from down below, you're gonna wanna hook those up down below. I'm just gonna take this panel, slide it down below. There's a slot that goes into the panel down here. And line that up and lock it in place. The weather stripping, you need to just put something, you can use a screwdriver. I'm just using a trim tool, and just peel this out. You can use your fingers too. That's good. Now I'm going to take the two bolts and use a 10mm socket and a extension. I'll get them started first. Now I'll use a ratchet to tighten those two bolts up. Just snug those up. Now I'll take these covers, reinstall the covers, just like that. And do the same for the other side. Alright, we want to plug this back in. This is going to go, this is going to go plugged in right here. Lock that in place. And line this up. And then some push tabs in the front. You can lock that in. And you have two fasteners, two little screws. I'm going to use a T10 and an extension. It's going to go right here. And the other one's going to go on the other side, right there. Just take a ratchet, just snug them up. It is in plastic, so don't over tighten them. Just snug. And we have this little cover. I'm going to plug this in right there, and then plug this one in right here. Slide this cover up, lock it in place. So this handle, this side is spring-loaded, whereas this side is not. This side just moves. So what you can do is with this side, just open that. With this side, flip this little cover down, and then it'll stay like that. And then it's easier to install this. And just slide this in position. Push it up like that. And you're going to take the bolts and an 8mm socket and an extension. I can get this started, and then I can get the other one started. Snug it. Same with this one. Then I can just take a pick, get underneath the cover, flip it back, lock it in place. The same with this one. Lock it in place. And I can do the same with the other ones. Now I'll take this visor, get this lined up in position. Sometimes it's easier to click it in, but I'm going to start the screw first. Just take a T15 and an extension and the screw. Get one of those started, grab another one, get this started. All right, once those are all started, then we can just take the ratchet and snug them up. We can move this in this position. We'll take this little trim piece. It's gonna go over that and then click in place. We can lock it in. Now I'm going to do the same with the other side. All right, now I'm going to take the center console, slide the pins in underneath there. That looks pretty good. And I'll plug this connector in over here. Now I could have left more of a flap on the carpet here. Lock that in place. Connect this one and lock it in place. The bolts, there's 2 bolts on this side and 2 bolts on the other side. I'll take a 15mm socket extension and a ratchet, tighten these down. So these just latch together right here. And just check your push clips, make sure your push clips are in there. We'll slide this in position. So there's a little alignment pin down on the bottom. You want to line that up with the hole, and then there's an alignment pin at the top. So you want to line that up. Once those are both lined up, give it a push. This is going to line up down here. And the weather stripping, we're going to use you can use your fingers and just pull this out, or you can use like a screwdriver or a trim tool. Just take this pick tool and slide underneath the weather stripping. That looks good. Install this push pin right here. I'll take this cover and go right on top. I'm just going to use a little bit of tape on my socket. Just tape around the screw, and the screw won't fall. Now you can always use a little bit of grease, or you could put the tape inside the socket. There's a couple different methods. So now I'll install the screw with a 7mm socket extension. Once I get it started, I'll take the ratchet, tighten this up. Just snug it and then pull it off. Take this cover, slide it in position, lock it in place. All right, I'm just gonna separate these 2 pieces. Right here. We're going to install the top part first, slide the seatbelt through. So you're going to need to line this up with these 2 little tabs right here so that this mechanism actually works, so that you can slide the seatbelt up and down. So this is a little bit tricky because while you're lining that up, you can move this up and down. You have to line the rest of the panel up. So that looks pretty good, right like that. There isn't a little alignment tab on this part of the panel right there. So once you get that lined up, push that in. I'm going to use a pick and get around the weather strip. Just slide that like that. And then just check this, make sure that's working properly. And then the weather strip on this side. Just slide this out. I'll just take a 10mm socket and an extension, get these bolts started, and get this one, and then this one. Just snug those down. Put these little covers on. That goes there, and this one goes right here. Now we'll take this piece, line this up. You're gonna have to push it down pretty far. Just make sure the carpet's in the right position. And then pull the weather strip around the edges with a pick or a screwdriver. Just do it slowly, otherwise you're gonna rip the weather strip. Once you get it there, you should be able to bang that on. Just like that. Same on this side. Just like that. If you're struggling with getting the panels on because that weather stripping is giving you a hard time, you can pull the weather stripping off. I like to leave it on and leave it in its natural shape so that I don't disform it or anything. But if you need to, it'll be a lot easier to take the weather strip off. Take this little trim piece. This is gonna slide in the back and then just get pressed in. Take this piece and just slide this. There's clips on the back side that go forward. Those go in there, and then these get pushed down. Just slide this in. Press it down. Then we're going to repeat the steps on the other side for trimming the carpet and installing the trim. This piece is going to go right here. You're going to use the, put your jack back on there afterwards. We don't have a jack, but there's a stud right here that I need to cut a little hole in the carpet to have the stud come through. And I can take this bracket, slide it in position. Put a nut right there, and there's a nut that goes on this side too. And we can take a 10mm socket and a ratchet, tighten it down. When we go to put the back seat in, it's actually easier to have these seat belts out of your way. So I'll just slide these over here, just so we can just slide the seat right in. All right, now we're going to use a partner and slide the seat back in.
I'll go around?
Sure. Now you want to slide those hooks in the back up top first, and then try to get the brackets to line up down below. Perfect. All right, thanks, Sue. Now we're gonna install the nuts. Two on the other side and then two on this side. All right, now I'm gonna tighten these up. Just use a 18mm socket and a ratchet. Now I'm gonna pull the seat belt back out of here and reposition over here, just like that. Take this nut, get this started, and use a 18mm socket and a ratchet, tighten this down. Now I'm going to use the 18mm socket and a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque this nut to 33 foot-pounds. I'm going to use an 18mm socket and a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque these nuts and then ones on the other side to 37 foot-pounds. Now I can remove this seat belt from up here. I'm going to slide this down here. You want to make sure it's not twisted. I'm just going to slide the seat forward a little and tuck it in. And take this bracket. It's going to go on here. Just like that. Take this nut, install the nut, and then I'll torque that to 33 foot-pounds. And take the buckle side over here and tuck these in. So with this tipped down a little bit, I can try to push these through. There we go. There we go. And there's the seat. Now just try to slide the seat in without scratching anything. Once you're in position, you want to get the front of the seat in, clipped in. So these clips under here want to go in those slots. Get them lined up. And then you grab the back of the seat, raise it up. And before I do anything else, I like to grab the front of the seat, make sure it's secure. That looks good. Now before I secure the back side, I want to plug this connector in. This connector goes on this way. Latch it in. That's latched in. And then take the wire and just get it, tuck it in under the carpet like that. Now if you have an electric seat, you can go hook the battery back up at this point, because you're going to have to move it forward so you can get the rear bolts in. We don't have an electric seat, so we can just slide our seat forward just like that. Take these two bolts, one goes here and one goes over here. And I'm going to take a T50 and tighten these down. I'm going to use a torque wrench, and I'm going to torque these bolts to 33 foot-pounds. What you want to make sure is when you're torquing these bolts, because there is some thread locker on these bolts, they could not be tightened down all the way. Just make sure you take the seat and wiggle it a little bit, make sure that it's not loose. Could give you a false torque, and that's good. And everything's nice and tight. Now we want to reinstall this screw right here. You could put a little thread locker on there, and then take the seat belt. Make sure the seat belt's not twisted. Slide this latch into there. Put the screw in using a T30. Then I'll take a ratchet, snug it up, and we'll torque it. And we're going to torque this to 33 foot-pounds. And we'll take this cover. This cover is going to slide in down below and then just lock in place. Now we want to install these trim pieces. We'll start with this one in the back. We'll just slide this in position right here. Get that like that. This piece is just going to slide in from the front. Might be easier to push the seat back a little bit. Just get this to line up. And there we go, that's on. Make sure that it snaps in together. You might have an easier time putting this piece on than the back piece, either way. And we have this front trim piece. This is gonna go right here and just slide in place. And then we're gonna do the same with the other side. Now we'll just hook up the battery. Get the negative cable, slide it through here, get that in position. Take a 10mm socket and a ratchet, we'll just tighten this up. Just get it snug, and grab the negative terminal and just wiggle it, make sure it's tight. That's good.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1aauto.com for quality auto parts shipped to your door, the place for DIY auto repair. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button.